If you think you might be feeling depressed, stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, BetterHelp, the sponsor of this episode, is here for you. BetterHelp offers a broad range of over 20,000 licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Plus, you can get 10% off your first month with my code, betterhelp.com/Kohler. With BetterHelp, you can talk to your therapist in a private online environment at your convenience, and all you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs before getting matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions, plus you can exchange unlimited messages and everything you share is completely confidential. As a mom constantly working around Jaden's toddler schedule, having my weekly therapy online has been a complete game changer and a huge reason why I have made big steps to better my mental health for myself and for my family. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. Don't forget to use my code to get that 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Kohler. That's better, HELP.com/Kohler. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Kohler Commentary. The guest I have in front of me today is a dear friend of mine, Skye Ali, formerly Skye Lim, onto the podcast today. January 2022 is when we became mom besties for life, even though I moved to Dallas. And yeah, just had so many great times. You know, there's like that reel, and I think you're the one that sent it to me. There's a Venn diagram of people you kind of connect with, but they might not fit all the boxes. But Skye and I had kids around similar ages, or Jaden would like to think Hazel was his best friend, and then, you know, had similar like interests in a sense. And then we liked each other. And so I just felt like it was a
Yes.
perfect fit and really really timely in the seasons hopefully we were both in, for us to just kind of meet at that time. And now, even though we are apart, we are still in each other's lives. So, Skye, welcome to the podcast. Hi. So we won't prolong this much further. What is your Enneagram?
Okay. I'm a type 4, the
Do you know
individualist.
anything about your Enneagram? I think I also made you take the test like the first or second time we met.
Probably. Yeah, I think I related a lot to the description. It was like my fear was like not having a sense of identity or purpose. Um,
hmm
and like that's my goal in life. And I think the description also said I can be very melancholy, like looking inward, and that kind of
Yeah.
describes me to a T. Yeah.
Your Instagram profile handle is like a thunderstorm, cloud, and
Yeah.
rain. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense, you know? And it's like, that's the power of the four, is they see the beauty in melancholy, which not many people would be able to see. And I feel like you saw the beauty in my season, which is something I really needed at that time.
Mm.
So I appreciate you. You also made a very bold decision to take 2 kids to Korea by yourself.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
you almost missed it, but thank goodness you didn't, because I think
Yeah.
you shared you had some very core memories. And so before you talk about
Mm.
your trip specifically with Hazel and Lewis, what kind of traveler are you in general?
So I'm actually not a huge traveler because I get lost really easily. And I think I have a fear or like anxiety around traveling by myself.
Mm.
But when I got married with Simon, married to Simon, he was like the planner usually, and I was the packer. That kind of still applies though. But when we did travel, you know, I liked going to art museums or cafes or things like that. After kids, it's changed a lot though.
Okay, so then after kids, what kind of traveler are you today? And what do you
Mm.
think has changed because of kids? What might have stayed the same?
I think almost everything has changed. I think we aim to go to places that are very kid friendly. So that means we always look up like if there's a zoo, aquarium, children's museums in the area. We're going to like parks, and we don't have that luxury of like relaxing on vacation
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Yeah, that's not a thing. Everything is
Was
kind
that a
of,
thing for you when you guys traveled, you two? It was like making time to just relax and
yeah,
enjoy. Mm.
yeah.
Especially because forests do like to appreciate the beauty around, and
Hmm.
you almost can't just realistically do that with two kids under certain ages. But Hazel
Yeah.
is growing up, and she also has that beauty eye. So,
I guess
okay, so tell
so.
us a little bit about Korea. You told me a little bit about your flight journey. You can
Yeah.
share as much of that as you want. But yeah, I would love to know what made you decide to go to Korea and a little bit about your kids that you traveled with.
So, the reason why I went by myself and without my husband is because he is a resident, and so it was really hard for him to take time off. But because of the time it takes to travel to and from, like it's like a 13, 14 hour trip, then you have to deal with jet lag. So I wanted to stay at least a few weeks. So we decided to book tickets just for the three of us. My parents are currently living there. That's why we wanted to visit before the kids get much older and this peak cuteness age, goes away.
Mm-hmm.
The trip itself, so we got pretty cheap tickets. That it was through Air Canada, so we were going to go to Toronto and then to Korea. So the total was like 21 hours.
Yeah, I was like, I'd like
Um,
to say your flight was not 13, 14 hours. Your flight was even
no, if
longer.
you yeah, if you take a direct flight, it would probably be around that. But there was a layover. It was going to be 21 hours. But because of some complications, it ended up being 27 hours because we had to go to Germany instead of Canada. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
You
rough.
almost you got denied to go
Yeah,
to
I couldn't
your
get on the
flight.
plane.
But then later it got reopened. I forgot. It was like you had to accept that you guys weren't going, and then something else.
Yeah, so we were missing a form. I had no idea we had to apply for something called a KETA, and you had to do it like a few days in advance.
Oh. I
Yeah, and
heard that
so
now I heard just recently that's no longer needed.
mhm. I know, and it
Yeah,
keeps
my sister just told me
changing.
that. We should check the status constantly, it sounds like.
For sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
I thought I had everything. I got my kids' passports and everything. I thought at least the airline would email you because usually they email, like, I don't know. That's what I thought. But I should have
Mm.
looked into it. But I got to the airport and they denied boarding. So we couldn't get on the plane and we went home. And I was sobbing. I was trying to find alternate flights for that week, but we couldn't find any that we could afford. But then I got an email saying that the entire flight was canceled and moved to the afternoon. And so because I missed check-in, I was pretty pessimistic. I didn't think I could get on this flight, but my friend told me to call the airline and they said we can get on. And so we went back to the airport
Mm.
and we made it. Yeah, they canceled the entire trip and then they like used a different airline. It was a mess. It was crazy. But
Yay,
because of that, I
hallelujah.
was
You got to
grateful.
go. And you guys didn't have to spend
Yes.
extra money, right?
No, we did not.
Okay, so then with that, you travel with how old are your kids? I know, but how old are
Yeah.
your kids?
They're 3 and 5. Lewis was 2 when we went. He was like
Oh, that's
just about
right.
to turn
Right
3.
before.
Yeah.
And how was
Hmm.
traveling with them for 27 hours? As
Yeah.
TLDR as you can say.
Yeah. It was, all things considered, they did really well.
Mm.
I was, I booked the tickets in like August and I went in March. So I had a lot of time to prepare mentally. And I was prepared for the worst. It was really hard. I think the hardest thing was just like, what do you do in a confined area? Like, they can't
Right.
stretch out their legs or walk around. And the flights specifically, like that we went on, they were kind of during the night, so like it was dark. And Lewis, when he doesn't have the concept of like you cannot exit the plane, like you literally
Yeah.
cannot leave. He didn't understand that it was a plane in the sky. So
Mm.
he just like kept crying that he wanted to leave. because TV, like I let them watch as much TV. I brought the tablets. I let them watch as much as they wanted, but like that only goes so far. So
Right.
yeah, Hazel did. I mean, it was hard. It was hard for me. Like
Yeah.
it's hard for like anyone to travel for 27 hours straight. I think it was like an 11-hour flight and then a layover and then like a 10-hour flight.
Mm.
And then the return trip was like 3 flights.
Oh my
So that was also
goodness.
a challenge because they're like, when are we gonna stop getting on planes anyway? They didn't like eat the plane food, so I just let them eat snacks.
Mm.
Yeah, we just made it through. I think what really helped was, how I mentioned like we couldn't board the first time, but then we did end up getting on, and so I was just grateful that we were able to go.
Mm. What a
Yeah.
beautiful way to see the situation. Okay, so you're in Korea, and this segment is for traveling with kids and what you would recommend.
Hmm.
Maybe
Hmm.
based on Enneagram types, you mentioned liking museums a lot, and I've always noticed that you
Yeah.
like to take them to kind of like the cooler, hands-on, also like creating type museums
Mm.
even when you visit cities. So when you visited us in
Hmm.
Dallas, you took them to that cool. I don't know which one it was, but it wasn't one I never like
What's that?
saw.
Was
That
that a
like
children's
smaller.
museum?
Yeah, it was like the smaller one where it's like different
Thinkers?
shapes, illusions. No, that's Austin.
Oh,
But in
oh, oh,
Dallas,
oh, the
it was like an
optical illusion
illusions
one.
optical, yeah. But it's like interesting, like it's
Yeah,
cool to
that was
see
fun.
where you end up taking your kids, and also like when you like to
Hmm.
go to like the plant stores and things that I would never
Yes.
go to, probably,
Yeah.
yeah. So while you're in Korea, what were like the top 1 to 2 places you would recommend for each of these categories? So restaurants
Mm.
to eat with kids.
Oh, to eat with kids. Oh, I was looking at this question and I couldn't really. Okay, so what
Oh,
I
you can
listed
say it for you too.
was,
If
well, I had a lot of good food. It was just really hard to narrow it down. I also don't, unfortunately, remember a lot of the names of the restaurants we went to. And I think, I mean, I went there and the street food was really nostalgic for me because I used to visit Korea a lot when I was a kid and like the 붕어빵, that kind of like tteokbokki. I think because of the nostalgia, that was also on like the top
mm,
tier of my list. But there is one restaurant called 강강술래 in Seoul. And it's not super kid friendly. They do have an outdoor area with live music, and it's kind of catered toward like the older generation, because the live music is like very old. But the
mm.
Korean barbecue is bomb. Like it's really, really good. So if you ever get a chance, like it's really good quality. And
And you're going
then
here with your kids and your parents.
yes, and my
Mm.
grandma. It's her favorite restaurant actually. She
Yeah, it kind of
goes with
fits
her
all of
friends.
them.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
강강술래. And do you know in what
Hmm.
area?
It's in Seoul, but I don't remember what area in Seoul.
Okay. Okay. And I think
No.
even like for you hearing it, eating is not to check off a top place, but eating is like a nostalgia
Mm.
feeling, which is fun to hear. Like
Yeah.
how, like not that you have to fit your Enneagram description, but it's also like cool to hear certain things as you talk. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like the
Oh.
nostalgia vibes. So I'm glad you got to experience that for you, not just traveling for kids.
Mm. Hmm.
Specifically, any kids cafes or things like parks or museums. I don't know if there is multiple for each or if you have a recommendation overall for those.
I have at least one for each.
Okay.
We went to a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's what you were doing all the
Yeah.
time. And at first I was screenshotting when I was like, oh, I need to look at them. And I was like,
Yeah.
she's going like once or twice a day. I don't know.
I know. It was a lot. So for kids cafes, like we went to a few, but they're all pretty similar. But I think one thing that we learned about that was really cool, it was called 우리끼리. So like I guess that means together. I think it might be a chain, like they have multiple locations, but what we did was we reserved the kids cafe and it's small. It's like a room, but it has all the essential play equipment. And we reserved it for like a few hours, like 3 hours. And we were able
Oh.
to just be there, just us, with like my cousin and her kids, and it was like a really convenient place to, like, I think, have a birthday party or a play date or
Mm,
something, and the cost wasn't that bad either.
mm.
So I would recommend like looking into those kind of
And this is Seoul as well?
individual rooms. Yeah, this was in Seoul. And the particular one we went to, I think it was in I think it was in Ungam-dong.
Okay.
And then amusement parks, we went to Seoul Land,
Mm.
and we've gone to Lotte World before, but I think Seoul Land was better for like the young kids. It was bigger for one. Lotte World is a lot of it is indoors, but Seoul Land was all outdoors. It's really big, like lots of rides. My kids in particular loved the parade. They have a zoo
Mm.
area, and then there were also like fireworks at night. They have like a fairy village, and then it's also tradition to like when you enter the park, you have to buy like those animal or like character headbands.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
have
yeah.
like all these different types of animals, and yeah, so that was fun. And then yeah, but we did go to a lot of museums. I have three that I really recommend.
Ooh, I think that's great because I don't think the other moms, it'll balance, you know? So, yes, tell us
Okay,
because this
I
is the
hope.
part I need to know.
Okay,
Because I
so
feel like you
the
gave them
first
a very
one.
unique experience with the museum choices and things like that, which is cool. You know,
Mm,
and yeah, continue. First one.
I hope so. Yeah, the
Yeah.
first one was the Children's Craft Museum. So there's a craft museum. I think it's called like Seoul 공예 박물관, Seoul Museum of Craft Art. But they have a
Mm.
separate children's building, and
Oh,
and it's free, but you do have to reserve a day. And
okay.
when we got there, they guided us to like a few floors of the building. Like one floor was like sewing, weaving. Another floor was metalworking, woodworking. There was pottery, and there are these like I guess teachers who will guide you and the children through the different activities. It's like super
Mm.
interactive. The kids got to make little wooden robots, or like they got to make these like keychains where they were able to like stamp like imprint letters onto like metal. They got to weave like their own little I guess piece of fabric and decorate it
Mm.
and make clothes for paper dolls, stuff like that.
This
Yeah, it
sounds like
was
what you do at
really
home.
unique. It does sound like what I do. It was very unique. And then, if you go to the rest of the museum, you can see like the actual experts of those crafts. And yeah, we didn't really get a chance to see that part, but the kids loved it, especially because Hazel, my 5-year old, she is obsessed with crafts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first place. I have heard that it's kind of hard to reserve a spot, but sometimes because it's free, I think a lot of people they kind of like don't show up, and
Uh,
so my dad said if you try to call like the morning of and see if there's a spot, you might be able to get in.
got it.
Yeah, and then the second place is basically like a generic children's museum. It's 서울 상상나라, but it was pretty good. I think it's pretty comparable to like the other children's museums I've been to, like in Austin and in
Mm.
Houston. It was pretty big and very interactive. They had exhibits on like sound, water, but something very unique about it was they had an exhibit on like making like biofuel or I guess making energy through like poop and waste. And so they had like they had these toilets where the kids could sit down and the toilets I don't know if you'll include this part.
Yeah, I
The
will.
toilets the toilets make like a fart sound when the kids sit on it, and they're 5 and
It's funny.
2, so they wanted me to sit on it. They wanted Harmony, Grandma to sit on it,
Mm.
and yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah,
Mm.
they had a good time. Yeah, the last one is not in Seoul. It's actually in Chuncheon,
Okay.
and it's called the Chuncheon Animation slash Robot Museum. And
Ooh.
yeah, it's two buildings. So one is the animation and one is the robot. It's like right next door to each other. The animation part was like old comics, animation techniques, like old shows from around the world. I really wanted to spend more time there. but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't as interactive for the kids. So we went to the robot museum, and that was so fun for them. They
Mm,
wanted to
okay.
go there again. Yeah, it was super interactive. They had a ton of robots that the kids could control. They had like games. Um, like one of them, you could go into this like dark room and they have like lasers so you can play Mission Impossible. Um,
Wow.
they had this one room where the whole floor is interactive, and so they made it look like an ocean floor with trash, and so you have to have a there was a mission where you had to clean up the ocean by like jumping on these pieces of trash, and it was really really interactive. The kids stayed in that particular room for like an hour.
Oh, so this can be like a whole day type of trip.
Yeah,
Because it's
I
also
think
Chuncheon too.
yes. And one thing I wanted to mention for like these museums, the admission fee is so cheap. It's like $5. Um, like that's
Wow, that's
unheard of.
insane.
I
Yeah.
know. It's unheard of in the States, so I was just like, and it's even cheaper for residents.
Oh, we took Jaden to the Mickey Mouse adventure thingy, and it was like
Yeah.
$80 for all three of us. And I mean, Evan was free, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't. It was fun, but I was like, I don't know if it's $80 worth. So
I
this will
know.
be nice.
Yeah.
And then I know you were there for a month, so I don't know if you did any
Mhm.
weekend trips or anything you would recommend. That's kind of like this hangwar life, whatever, like living
Mm.
life there type of thing.
So we kind of jumped back between Chuncheon and Seoul because
Was
my
your
parents live
parents
in
in Chuncheon?
Chuncheon.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chuncheon was kind of like more country. They
Mm-hmm.
live um, near like greenhouses and like farms and
Mm.
stuff. We really like Chuncheon, but we went to Nami Island, but
Okay.
it was just a day trip. We didn't stay the night, but my parents did recommend staying the night if we ever get a chance. It's not huge, but you take a ferry to it.
Oh, that's fun for
Yeah,
kids.
it's like a good date spot, I guess. I think it was in like some dramas, probably. But when
Mm.
we went, there were a lot of tourists. There's like art galleries, restaurants, and stuff there. Yeah, so that was kind of nice.
Any traveling tips or insights about Korea?
Yeah, well, getting to Korea, I would say like fidget toys and Play Doh and coloring
Mm,
books.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, and then in Korea, thankfully, the public transportation is really well done. Yeah, but because driving is crazy,
Mm-hmm.
like I just um I couldn't even like look out the window. I'm a very anxious driver and you know that about me. Like I can't drive on the highway, but like even just watching it would make my heart just
Mm.
I couldn't look out the window. My dad hates driving in Seoul.
Oh.
Shincheon wasn't bad, but Seoul like nobody cares about
Yeah,
their
yeah. I
life.
mean, when I was younger, I remember being so scared when I was like riding my uncle's car. So
Yeah.
it still sounds like it's still like that.
It might be worse because
But-
more people are getting cars.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's true.
But I think buses, delivery trucks, and taxis, they're incredibly aggressive.
Mm,
Also, if you don't have, this sounds really bad, but you're less likely to be like cut off or like get in an accident if you have a nice car. That's what my
mm,
dad said.
I'm sure
Yes.
that makes
Um,
sense.
aside from that, like traveling with kids, I always had a sketchbook, always had crayons on me. And because we were in a different country, like I just packed the tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Any other like
Yeah.
cultural things you learned this time around in Korea?
Yes. So I thought it was really amusing that Korean people are very polite, but they're not very friendly.
Mm,
So, an example is their customer service is very good. The custom is like they bow, they welcome you, they make sure you get everything you need. But if you like make eye contact with someone on the street, if you smile, they'll think you're strange.
I can see that.
I thought
That's
that was
interesting.
very,
Yeah.
very
It's so
strange.
different from especially Texas or like Southern
Mhm.
hospitality in general. Did
Yeah.
you try to smile at people? Were the kids trying to
Oh,
smile at people?
Yes, I tried to smile at people. The kids were too shy. But my
Oh.
mom said that one time, so she's from America.
Mm-hmm.
She smiled at this man just, crossing the street, and then he followed her and he said, "Why did you smile at me?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and she was like, I thought I was being friendly."
Oh, yeah, I do wonder what he must be thinking. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. I have so many like interpretations I would assume he's thinking, but who knows? Okay, so that's good to know. Because Jaden will wave and he will be
Oh,
disappointed.
well, if kids wave, like, I'm sure they'll wave back.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think all the adults,
Because
they
that
would just wave back.
people know why a kid is
Yeah.
smiling. I guess
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just supposed to get more like jaded as you grow up, and that's when you shouldn't
Yeah.
smile at people. Makes sense.
Hmm. I mean, overall, everyone was very friendly. I don't think anyone looked at us differently. Also, I mean, I'm Korean,
Yeah,
but
and
when
you're
I
pretty
did
good at
speak
talking.
English,
Mm.
I can get by. I think I sound like my pronunciation is pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't really carry on a conversation for long with actual, like,
And your kids speak English, so you can't
yes,
necessarily blend in fully, I guess.
yeah. Oh, also culturally, it was just an amusing thing that we got there, and like the first restaurant we went to, we took our shoes off at
Mm.
the entrance, and Hazel thought that was very strange. We take our shoes off at home, but we've never taken
Yeah,
our
in
shoes off at a
public.
restaurant. But then when we went home to my parents' house, when we go in the bathroom, you put the bathroom shoes on.
Ah.
And Hazel was like, "This is
Hazel's just
so
like,
weird."
what is going
Yeah,
on?
that was really funny to
Oh,
me.
I see. Oh, that makes sense. I don't think I knew you take shoes off. Not all restaurants, right?
Not all restaurants. And I
Maybe
think
depending because you guys were more countryside too, or
that was a
did that play a part?
countryside one. Yeah, but I think last time we went to Korea, there were more restaurants where you sat on the floor and the table was, like pretty low. But I think my parents were saying more restaurants are putting tables in now, tables and chairs.
Right.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. And let's end it with what was your favorite memory and maybe a memory you'd want to forget while you were in Korea with your kids?
Um, can I start with the bad one?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the trip there and back.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
And you had to do jet lag when you got back. That's what I think I'm most
yeah.
scared of. I just keep hearing that, like, because you're not looking forward to anything either. I don't know.
Mm. It was, I think it took about a week for
Oh,
me each
wow.
time. But for the kids, it took less time.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. And they could, I mean, while we were in the car, they could sleep. Like, I just kind of let them
Yeah,
figure it out. And it didn't take that long. And they were just so busy having fun.
yeah.
So, yeah. But the good memory, I think one of my favorites was we went to 동해바다, yeah, the seaside, and we stopped by this market that had this famous 닭강정. Don't know what that's called in English. It's like fried chicken, sort of, but we had 닭강정 and we had like 술빵 and 막걸리, and we got 컵라면, and then we ate
Oh.
it in front of like a convenience store right in front of the ocean. And
Mm.
it was a very windy day, but it was just like a very happy day. Like my parents, my kids. Yeah.
Especially because you don't get to see that interaction as much,
Yeah.
like for your parents too. I'm glad you guys
Yeah.
ended up being able to go. That sounds like such
Yeah,
a
me too.
beautiful memory that I think will now live in my mind as well. Anything else you want to share before we end it with the fruit?
All the fruit. Oh yes. I think I want to mention two places real quick. So one of
Yes.
them was Seoraksan.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's a mountain. I think it's one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is the
Yeah.
biggest. No, correct me
Oh, I
if
don't
I'm
know about
wrong.
the biggest. I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. I don't
It's like
know.
San.
In Korea, yes, but you take a cable car up, and then we hiked a little bit when we got up there, but the view was really amazing. The weather was nice, and actually Hazel was surprisingly brave, and she like
Oh.
went up the steep. mountainside with my grandma. We like brought sandwiches and fruit. It was nice. And then
Mm.
the other place is called 아침 고요 수목원. Yes, Garden of
Morning.
Morning Calm.
Okay.
Yeah, Garden of Morning Calm. It's a botanical garden,
Mm.
and it's mostly trees. But we went in the like at the end of winter, so I heard it's really beautiful in the fall and in the spring. But it was
Mm.
still really cool
Okay.
because at night they light the whole thing up. Yeah,
Oh.
in
Is
the
this
winter
Seoul
they
or
like
Chuncheon?
it's in.
Okay.
We had to like drive at least an hour from Seoul, but yeah, at night they light the whole thing up, and they did a really good job with it.
Mm.
Kids like light shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because if I'm going in September, that's kind of almost fall. I don't know.
I think you might be able to
At the end
see.
of September.
Yeah, I think you might be able to see the tanpong, the fall leaves. I've heard it's really
Mm.
beautiful. Yeah.
No, thanks for
Um,
including those. And then the fruit. If you could describe your trip in a
mm,
fruit, what would it be?
Mango, because it's my favorite fruit and it's the kids' favorite fruit. And I think the whole trip was very wholesome and healing, and
Mm.
we just all got to do things that we loved.
Yeah, it sounds like you planned for everyone. Even though it's with the kids, it also sounded like it was very
Yeah.
balanced for everyone's interests.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for taking time to share about your trip.
Yeah. Thank
I feel
you
like
for
you
having me.
definitely did like not like everyone does traditional things, but I think as I look at your stories versus other friends who had stories, I was like, oh, like she's doing really unique things, I guess. And so I was curious to see
Mm,
what they would be. And
mhm.
fours love to bring uniqueness and special beauty to the world. So look at you
I'd
and your
like to think
traveling as
so.
well.
Yeah.
Well, next time I'm going to have you back on so we could talk about our feelings some more.
Oh man.
So
Okay.
just you wait till that time comes. But
Okay.
yeah, thanks for joining on. And hopefully I'll see you soon in
Yeah, I
Thanksgiving.
know.
Thanksgiving, maybe.
Yes. Maybe. Hopefully.
All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed another episode of Kohler Commentary. Bye.
Thank you.